Are we too quick to hop on the hype train of the newly announced Nerf Hyper series? Despite this being the next gen of blasters, there are still 3 major concerns regarding Nerf Hyper that we will discuss right now. We finally got official news on the Nerf Hyper blasters, so let's take a look at what they are and what makes them different from other Nerf blasters. First of all, we're seeing a boost in velocity in these blasters, making them some of the highest performing Nerf branded blasters out there. The blasters will fire up to 110 feet per second, which is slightly faster than the velocity of rival blasters, which are usually around 90 to 100 FPS. The other new thing is we're getting a new ammo type. These are new Nerf Hyper rounds. As we suspected, they are smaller than rival rounds, actually about 1/3, so quite a big difference. And these are made of a new material. The Verge says that they're made of foam and they can still bounce, but when looking around, it doesn't seem like this was officially announced by Hasbro, so it's still kind of unknown what these are actually made of. But if we can just zoom in a little bit more here, we can see that the balls do have dimples on them similar to rival rounds, and that helps reduce drag. So in my eyes, I still think this is foam, but we'll have to see. Nerf is saying that a volume that can hold 25 rival rounds can now hold 100 hyper rounds. That's insane. This also means smaller blasters, like one we're about to see, can hold a lot more now, and I think that's why they're charging more for each blaster. We have smaller rounds, you can fit more of them into your blaster, and that means you have longer lasting gameplay, which is great. We'll also discuss the downside of these rounds later on as well. When you buy Hyper rounds, you also get them in these new reload canisters. Right now we have 2 sizes, the 50 round and the 100 round canister. It's not like you just buy these and throw them away. No, you can actually use them and attach them to your Hyper blasters via the tactical rail. I'm wondering if these tack rails are the exact same ones on rival blasters. Since Hyper blasters are going to have hoppers, we have canisters, theoretically you could just dump a bunch of rounds at once, and that really makes for fast reloading. However, I do think this photo can be misleading because it's not going to be this easy to dump everything in without at least spilling a few. You might be wondering, when is Nerf Hyper coming out? Unfortunately, Hasbro and Nerf doesn't even know because they said it's coming out in 2021, which is what everyone guessed it would be anyways. What 3 blasters are first coming out under the Hyper series? We're going to start with the small boy here and end with the big one. Introducing the Nerf HYPER Rush-40. This is the smallest and the cheapest entry within this series. This will retail for $30. As you can tell, $30 is noticeably higher compared to other entry level blasters in other series. Right on top here, we have a 40 round hopper capacity. That is a lot for a blaster that's probably around the same size as a Chronos or as an X-Shot Meteor. It's not that much larger. The Nerf rival Chronos holds only 6 rounds, this holds 40, so it makes sense that this blaster is going to come in at a higher price range. Right here we have the top priming handle, which will probably be something that a lot of people won't like. As of now, there's no mention of slam fire, and if that's the case, I feel like that's a huge missed opportunity for this blaster, which is already coming in at $30. You have such a high ammo capacity, it would be nice to also increase your rate of fire as well. The second blaster on our list is the Siege 50. This will be a $40 blaster with a 50 round hopper. So it's $10 more than the Rush 40, and the hopper also holds an extra 10 rounds. I think this blaster looks wicked. It reminds me of the X-Shot Orbit, and personally I'm still trying to grow accustomed to this color scheme. It does look like a modified Nerf Modulus paint scheme, but with a little too much gray for my own liking. But I really like this Thunderbolt thing going through the blaster. I think that was a good choice. There's a tack rail on top and one at the bottom. Unlike the Rush 40, this one is confirmed to have slam fire, which is great, and it looks like they're trying to accommodate that in the handle design with this little lip at the back to give you some extra grip. On the top here, we have a carry handle, which seems extremely useless to me, and I'll talk about why this is one of the big concerns regarding Nerf Hyper as a series, coming up soon. And the biggest and baddest of the 3 blasters is the Nerf HYPER Mach 100. This will cost $70 once released, and it also comes with a 100 round hopper right here. The Mach 100 is a fully automatic blaster. We can see the acceleration trigger right here, and this is probably where they're going to house the battery, similar to the Nerf Perseus. Actually, this blaster looks pretty darn similar to the Perseus, but one big downside here is this is not going to be using a rechargeable battery like the Perseus. It's going to be using D batteries, so you're going to have to spend some money for batteries and replace them once they get drained. Right up here we have an iron sight, another useless carry handle, and one thing Nerf doesn't mention in their description is, what is the rate of fire of this blaster? I think that's really important to know. The Mach 100 is expensive at $70, but it is cheaper than its other equivalents. For example, the Nerf rival Prometheus, beast of a blaster, it's $200. It has a 200 round hopper. The Percy's, a little smaller, a little cheaper, it's $100, but it only holds 50 rounds. In this case, you pay a little more than the Percy's and get a lot more in regards to ammo capacity. The Rush 40, the Siege 50, and the Mach 100. Let me know which one you like the most and why down in the comments below. Nerf Hyper Blasters only use hyper rounds, meaning you have to shell out more money for a new ammo type. So the question is, will these cost you a liver? Well, maybe. The 50 round canister will cost $12, so that's 24 cents per round, not including tax. For 100 rounds, that's going to cost $20, essentially 20 cents per round. Nerf hasn't officially announced it, but according to The Verge, apparently a 200 round refill will be coming out, and that will retail for under $30, and they're saying that will cost 15 cents per round. So that's obviously going to be the best bang for your buck. And 15 cents per hyper round is really similar to the price you'll pay for third-party rival rounds. But the catch is these rounds are a third smaller than rival rounds, so you're paying at best the same price as rival rounds, but for 1/3 of the material. And since these are so small, they're going to be substantially easier to lose compared to other Nerf ammo out there. In a Nerf war with Nerf Hyper Blasters, you can expect to lose a little more ammo and a little bit more money every single time. With the release of Hyper, we're also seeing a new Hyper face mask as well. Nerf Hyper is looking really good right now, but there are 3 major concerns that could make or break this series, so let's talk about what Nerf still has to address. Major concern number 1, Nerf still seems to be holding back on giving everything to the consumer, so let me quickly ask, do you see anything wrong with this hopper? If you said no, you're right, this hopper is perfectly fine, but do you notice how much bigger it could be? Instead of making this go along the whole blaster, like the Prometheus, like the Percy's, like the Nemesis, they've elected to add this useless carry handle at the front instead. It is true when Nerf says that you can put more hyper rounds in the same volume compared to rival rounds, but they're still buffering this whole potential that they have here by just not making the hoppers as large as they could be. And we can see that's painfully obvious for the Siege 50 as well. No one is going to be using this carry handle. I'll admit it, I'm not a Nerf blaster engineer, so I don't know if it was physically impossible to extend this hopper all the way, but we've seen examples in the past, so it just makes me curious. I'm guessing they did have the ability to extend the hoppers, but that means they would have to charge more, and that might make the blasters a little more inaccessible to people. The second major concern I have about Nerf Hyper is there's no info on whether accuracy has improved. My guess is they're not insanely accurate, probably around the same as Nerf Rival. I'm just hoping it's not worse. And the third major concern is hyper blaster velocity. They say that velocity can be up to 110 feet per second, but that is the upper limit of it. And will that be consistent? Because if you think about it, it's barely higher than the 90 to 100 that we already get out of Nerf rival blasters, and it's around the same as Nerf Ultra. So here's the thing, if these blasters aren't that much more accurate or powerful compared to rival blasters, there isn't that much of an incentive to switch completely over from rival to hyper other than the ammo capacity increase and the ease of reloading. Seriously, if Nerf Hyper Blaster performance flops, then this is really just nothing more than a fancy cash grab. And that brings me to my other question. If Hyper is the next gen killer, why are new Nerf rival blasters still coming out this year? For example, we have the brand new Nerf sub-series Rival Curve Shot. Are we going to see a slow phase out of Rival completely, or is Rival sticking around a bit because it serves some purpose that Hyper doesn't? Overall, it seems like Hyper is a step in the right direction. I love hoppers, I love high capacity, high performance, fast reloading. It seems like it's all here, but we just have to see if Nerf delivers on this hype. Click the video on the left to see every 2020 Nerf blaster explained in 10 words or less. Links to buy the latest and greatest Nerf blasters are down below. Thanks for watching, hope you do something great today and get that bread.